Good morning and welcome to MAGNY COURS. Yesterday we qualified in the morning and went racing under cover of darkness. Today it's another roll of the dice, but my name is Bruce Jones. I'm joined by John Watson. Watty, will it be Team WRT for the second time running? They dominated yesterday.
Well, first of all, they dominated the qualifying, which was the key to me to enable that 32 Audi to take the lead when the lights went out. Great pit stop driver change to get back out into the lead. Dries van Thor took the checkered flag by just over 6 seconds from the the 163 Lamborghini, followed by the 14 Lamborghini. So Emil Frey came second and third with their two cars. Great weekend for them so far. Who's going to be in pole now in this 20-minute session? Well, there's only 18 minutes up remaining. There is one of those two Lamborghinis. Very, very competitive indeed. And they will keep everybody, including their 32 Audi, on its four wheels.
It's also worth pointing out as Albert Costa powers down the hill towards the end of the lap. That's the exit of Chateau d'Eau coming down the hill. There's a bit of shuffle in the pack because Arthur Rougier was brought, well, let's get this right, Norbert Siedler injured himself on Friday, and that meant Ricardo Feller had to cross over from the 14 to the 163 to join Albert Costa, the driver we've just seen on the circuit. And Arthur Rougier just happened to be with the team this weekend, and he joined Alex Fontana in the 14. So Emil Frey Racing shuffling it about, and those two podium positions showed they got it just right. Again, drivers very early in the final corner, running wide, a bit like Montreal out of that final chicane onto the start-finish straight.
This is a car that ran into trouble last night. We saw him pull over on the exit of Chateau d'Eau. Couldn't really tell what the problem was. Thought it might have been a puncture, but it appears it was a wheel detached itself. So it was 3 wheels on my wagon, not 4.
Now, one of the reasons, quite possibly for that, was the drivers were hitting those chicanes so hard around the course of the lap. But Mauro Engel and his teammate Lucas Stoltz, they're such a strong pairing. Purple on the screen. Yes, it's early in the qualifying session, but a lot of the quick times come very early in these 20-minute sessions. And Mauro Engel's trying to atone for yesterday and see if he can take pole position. At the moment, no representative times on the board, but when he gets to the end of this lap, we'll see what the marker will be. And the best lap yesterday by Charles Weerts was 1 minute 36.133 seconds. Let's see what can be managed this morning on Sunday at MAGNY COURS.
But remember, those times were set early afternoon, well, mid-afternoon, in fact, by the 32 Audi. Here this morning, temperatures are lower, considerably lower. If you've got a fresh set of tyres, and look, Mauro Engel, purple, and coming up now to Chateau d'Eau. This is the part of the racetrack, in fact, on the exit here, he pulled over and came to a standstill just before he went under the Pirelli bridge. Now plunges down the hill into the braking zone for laissez-passer, and then the complex, as my best French could say, du lycée, or lycée. So
wow,
he's
suddenly
backed
getting
out
a lot
of
of traffic. He backed out of it coming down the hill because there was that 3-car gaggle in front of him. So as good as his lap was with those 2 purple sectors, he's biding his time. Now he's given himself about a 10-second gap. Off he goes. He's got the track, hopefully, from his point of view, to himself.
Well, I thought stacking was something you did in a supermarket, but clearly, here in MAGNY COURS, GT3, we're seeing a lot of stacking. Alex Fontana overruns, under brakes down into laissez-passer. So that lap has also been, if you like, scored out. He gets quickest lap. I mean, it's all traffic just tripping over one another, looking for that clear lap. Of course, everybody with fresh tyres, tyre at its best right now, on board with Alex Fontana through that long, tortuous Estoril corner. Eventually it does end, and now you get that moment of relief as you go down the long Gulf Straight. There's a dogleg kink to the right, but that's just a kink. And then choose your braking spots. There are the markers. Don't need to brake overly late on the lap when you're qualifying. Different thing when you're in a race.
Well, we had a Ferrari at the top of the time charts there. They'd be shouting in Chile if they were awake, because, of course, it's the middle of the night there. Benjamin Hites was top for Rinaldi Racing, but now Fred Verviche has gone to the top of the charts for Sansalot Racing, an Audi to the 4. But it's a 1 minute 37.3. That won't be good enough. Indeed, it isn't. Dries van Thor in yesterday's winning car. 1 minute 36.7. He's fastest by 6/10. He found the gap. He's got the speed. He's delivered so far. Now, what can Pierre-Alexandre Jean do in his bend? He's got rather close to the tail of that Mercedes. Won't ruin this lap, though.
No, but as Jules Gougnot, I'm now Raffaele Marcello has gone quickest. Literally, as the cars are coming across the start-finish line. And there, was that the 31?
That's Riachiro Tomita, and yesterday, problem for Frank Bird when he'd been running really well, and now it's his turn. Frank Bird ended up in the gravel. Plenty of gravel on play there, and a spinner at the final corner. I mean, there's the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini facing backwards across the track. Not good at all. That will probably wreck a few people's laps as Enrique Chavez sits there, well recovered, slightly affected the McLaren going through, but I think Ben Barnicoat just about got away with that.
And he went fastest in the process, 1:36.0, fastest time we have seen certainly this morning and pretty much through the 2 qualifying sessions. So good effort by the Jota team to get that McLaren up into provisional pole. We're still 14, but it's been an absolutely, I was going to say, frantic qualifying session.
Well, it absolutely has, and well done. You can see why Ben Barnicoat's on the McLaren books. Ollie Wilkinson in the Jota McLaren Gauge will be jumping up and down with that, because we saw last night, if you start at the front here, even though the passing places into the first corner through Estoril and up to the Adelaide hairpin at the top of the hill, starting out front definitely is an advantage here. Marcello, what can he do? Up in the first sector, down in the second sector, but he was top of the 88 Mercedes from ASP. Yeah, that middle sector not good enough. He's going to have to make track space. He's been given track space. The next lap could be the real one from him.
Yes,
frustrating.
He had been second, now he's dropped to third because Dries van Thor has come back. Still not quick enough to get ahead of the McLaren. That's on that 1:37, it's 1:36.073. And now Ben Barnicoat improving again in sector 2 as Raffaele Marciello reclaims P2, provisional P2. Dries van Thor done. This is, I mean, a crazy qualifying session. But wow, how exciting.
How close would you like it to be? 16 1/1000 to be right on board with Johnny Adam and his car. One of the 2 Garage 59 Aston Martins. If it's an Aston Martin, you want a Johnny Adam on board. Let's see what he can do. He's down in 15th at the moment, but that middle sector, he's been hurt by something, losing half a second on his best. Don't expect a big improvement from Johnny just there on that lap.
No, and he was looking somewhat circumspect. But anyway, wearing glasses also, I haven't seen him do that before. But watching some of the other cars, particularly as they enter into what they call Grand Curve, staying way off, almost off the racetrack to make the cut to give them the best opportunity to slice through. Ben Barnicoat, last lap, quicker again, 1:35.894. The boy is, well, I was going to say on fire, but he's certainly burning up the track here this morning.
Well, look, Pierre-Alexandre Jean trying to get a Bentley into the mix. He's 8th at the moment, but at the moment we've got a McLaren from a Mercedes, from a Lamborghini, from Audi. It's all working as absolutely as it should be in the Fanatec GT World Challenge, powered by AWS. What can the young French star do? Only 20 years old. He seems to have been around forever in GT4, second year in GT3, and he's making the CMR Bentley really fly. Trying to confuse people by swapping numbers from 108 to 107 this weekend. Good enough for third. Fantastic job. Top of the Silver Cup class.
Very good lap indeed, having that fastest first sector time. Now, we saw last night that the 2 Bentleys knew has gone off in the Grand Courbe. Well, somewhere in that dust, there will be a car where it's gone to as the dust slowly settles. But what was interesting is both Bentleys last night were the quickest cars on this part of the racetrack. 256 kilometers per hour. That's an advantage here at MAGNY because that's one of the clear places where overtaking is possible. Christopher Haase, didn't see a lot of him last night either. Up into 5th place in the Sanderlock. Sanderlock had a terrible night, both cars failing to finish.
Indeed, Christopher's teammate Leo Roussel went off the circuit under cover of darkness, and that pretty much covered everything last night. It's very dark at MAGNY, and there was a lot of muck around the edge of the circuit, gravel, and I don't think it helped at all. But good lap for Christopher Haase, as you would expect, up to 5th place. So he's only half a second down on the ultimate pace. He's in the mix. Now, Top Sport WRT, what are we going to see from them today? Early pace setter, then Maro Engel backed out of it. Now he's starting to wind it up.
Personal best, sector 1, coming up through. So what will the second? No, that's it's.
Well, waved yellow flags in the background there. Is that still the incident at Grand Courbe? Just trying to work that one out.
Tony Engel has dropped off in that middle sector by just under half a second. So whether he had received a signal to indicate that there may be a yellow sector, and therefore would he want to continue running hard when he thinks that possibly this lap could be. No, certainly the track is green, but he's into the pit lane. He realizes that this lap wasn't going to be good enough. He's still got 9.5 or so minutes to go, but Ben Barnicoat really 0.133 of a second clear of Albert Costa in the 163 Lamborghini as we go on board with Alex Fontana yet again. This is that very messy end of the lap where you really have to be aggressive and almost callous in the way that you attack the curb. Now watch to see how wide Fontana goes. Not as wide as Albert Costa was doing in his sister 163 Lamborghini, but gives you an impression. Oh, the back end stepped out there a little bit, Alex. Get out of the throttle, get it all gathered up again. Outside of the racetrack is dirty. We've had a lot of dirt, gravel being dragged on all through the weekend. So offline is a no-limits part of the racetrack.
Certainly Grand Courbe is a corner, the first corner of the lap, that draws drivers to going in too deep. Still haven't identified the car that was sitting in the gravel. Appears to have been cleared at the moment. But we saw those yellow flags just a lap ago. Jack Aitken really picking up the pace, but again, that middle sector, they've had to back off in that sector. Every single driver seems to hit the first sector better than they did the lap before, but at the moment for Jack Aitken, who was impressive last night in the darkness.
He was very impressive. He set a lot of very good sector times, a lot of very good laps. So he's also dived into the pit lane. Now maybe there is something in that middle sector of the racetrack we haven't seen. We saw that Maro Engel lost time. We've just seen that Jack Aitken lost time in the middle sector. As we look at the 163, currently the second quickest car, provisional front row. So one set of Pirellis is coming off. And of course, they're all yellow sidewall Pirellis. We don't have the multiple choices of compounds. It's a single compound, so it might just be a fresher set. Could even be a new set, but I suspect it will be the best of the rest, unless the team has got sufficient tyres to think that it's better to have grid position and defend that than put on a new set of tyres for the race and try and attack. And to me, it's all about position, 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 just like in property. If you've got the real estate in the front of the grid, it's easier to defend it than it is to try and reclaim it.
No, exactly so, and by the look of those tyres, they were, as you suggested, John, best of the rest for some of the crews down in the pits. Giorgio Roda, it was a good run by Chris Froggatt last night, but the Sky Tempesta Ferrari riding with it now. That had a little bit of rear-end damage. There may have been some contact. Certainly the bodywork was a bit melted. Not the tiniest line for Giorgio there.
No, he again got himself too wide, and again on the exit of Estoril, letting the car run too wide too early. Manages just to keep it on that green demarcation part of the racetrack. Now he can relax as he runs down into Adelaide Hairpin Bend. A lot of work on the steering wheel, then he makes the final cut into the corner. Runs the curve, a little bit of wheel spin on the exit, then picks up through this little curve to the left. Now, challenge coming up is the Nürburgring chicane. Easy here to cut back to the left to run too wide. Again, looking in the cockpit camera, the big brake pedal. So it's all left foot braking from the majority of these drivers this weekend. As we saw in Monza, I thought the Ferrari brake pedal has a lot of travel. This car we saw last night has got the same characteristic that we saw from, I think it might have been, was it Ilott? I think it certainly was one of the Ferraris in Monza.
Right, yes, and Ilott was very, very impressive through the course of the race. So some cars backing off down the hill, but for Giorgio Roda needs to press on. He's 24th of the 27 cars. Bit of traffic up ahead, that's Ben Barnicoat, who'll be picking up the pace, but interrupts his lap right at the end. Maybe hasn't quite cost him. Keep an eye out, though, in the Pro-Am class. I always think Pro-Am when I see the Sky Tempesta Ferrari, but that's in the Silver Cup class. But leading the Pro-Am, going very well, Dominic Baumann, 15th fastest, the SBS Automotive Mercedes car off the circuit there on the run down the hill, one of the Lamborghinis.
Just interestingly, Alexander Perjean in the number 107 Bentley has gone purple yet again in Sector 1. That's the second time in this 20-minute session that car has claimed purple in the first sector of the lap. Johnny Adam, personal best in Sector 1. Good improvement in the middle sector, coming up to complete the lap. Now, he's been one of the drivers who's less aggressive with the curbing in those final two turns on the start finish straight. So Johnny Adam, where does he go? Up to 5th place. That neat tidy lap has paid dividends, and that is going to be now the leading Pro-Am car with 5 minutes remaining.
Leading Pro-Am car by some margin. Pierre-Alexandre Jean, he likes the colour purple. He's collected not one, but 2 of those sectors around the 3-sector lap. Can he get a purple for the final section, go to the top of the charts? Goes second, just 38 thousandths down on Ben Barnicoat. It's still a McLaren at the top, now a Bentley in second, Lamborghini third, Mercedes in fourth, and an Audi in fifth. It's Barnicoat, Pierre-Alexandre Jean, Albert Costa, Raffaele Marciello, who's just back on track and starting to fly, and Dries van Tor.
And Maro Engel currently in 10th position. not, well, he's gone up to 5th. He's made the improvement in that final sector. That dragged him up. It's so close. And that intermediate part of the timing and scoring as we watch Raffaele Marcello plunge back down the hill into the braking zone. Just to get it stable, make your apex, get the good exit, keep the car straight, then the final cut across. Again, Raffaele Marcello not being as aggressive as sometimes we have seen him previously. Fastest in that final sector allows him now to take provisional 3rd position.
Yeah, very close, and again we see drivers running very wide at Chateau d'Eau at the top of the hill before they come down this sweeping sector to the final sequence of corners. Jim Pla also running in the Pro-Am class. He's down in 18th place. He improved in the 1st sector, threw it all the way again. The middle sector is so hard for these drivers, so that starts at the entrance to the Adelaide hairpin, ends just before Imola on the sweeper on the way up the hill.
Yeah, Jimmy Pla on the exit of the final corner really was aggressive with the curb, got the car up in the air. I don't see the benefit of doing it. You might think you're taking a shortcut, but it just unsettles the car so much that it shaves those little hundreds of seconds away. Raffaele Marcello now in provisional 2nd place, having moved up 1, and Albert Costa was his victim. Albert Costa on a lap right now, fastest overall, sector 1. It's kicking off wherever you look.
It absolutely is. 3 minutes to go. Albert Costa back in 3rd by just 1/1000th of a second. He's already regained that and more. Clear track, vital for all these drivers. Raffaele Marcello has got just that as he presses on. You're right, John. In race form, he's not so neat and tidy, but in qualifying, he is super smooth
and
here.
This, if he gets another green, so 3 personal bests, and he's got enough clear track ahead of him to make sure he gets through that final sector without having to compromise. This could be a new provisional pole position with 2.5 minutes remaining.
But meanwhile, behind him on the lap, Albert Costa is going even faster to keep the tension going. Ben Barnicoat, top for McLaren. And where does Marcello go? To the very top by 1/10 of a second. So it's changed at the top. Barnicoat's got to fight back. What can Albert Costa do? His middle sector wasn't brilliant, though. This lap, he's got caught out in the traffic.
So, I mean, again, the problem we saw at the start of the session, we're getting a lot of bunching. So Albert Costa coming down into this final sector. He's going to reset now. He's got 2 minutes to try and regain a provisional front row, maybe a pole position. Watch how wide he goes here as he comes to make look way off the racetrack. And he's been doing that consistently through this session.
Well, will it work? Just want to point out at this moment, Dries Van Tor in yesterday's winning car is only down in 7th place. He's the top Audi. How the things have changed, but track conditions cooler this morning. Yesterday was really warm, and in fact, even after nightfall, people just wearing short sleeve shirts in the pits.
Yeah, I mean, what you've got is a complete contrast to the Q1 we had, sort of 3 p.m. or so at Manicourt. Temperatures were very much warmer. It was actually about 23 Celsius. Track temperature a little bit higher. We're down now into the middle teens, and that makes a difference, particularly when you've got a fresh set of tyres.
Could be all changed at the top. It's Mercedes top of the charts with Raffaele Marcello and ACA ASP, but Maro Engel and Topsport WRT, they go top by over 1/4 of a second. Epic lap from a driver who just over the years, almost a decade, has been delivering at the top level.
So it's Mercedes, McLaren, because Ben Barnicoat has done a great job to get himself back up on. I mean, we were looking at Raffaele Marcello, who was provisionally fastest overall.
So Stefan Richelme, he's back in racing and he's doing it differently, facing backwards out of the final corner. And there he's in a really tricky position. Anyone trying to complete their lap, they're going to have trouble. Waved yellow flags, they're going to have to back off out of the final corner. That really helps Maro Engel, who's sitting on provisional pole. Unlucky for Richelme, but unlucky for everyone else who's come round to face that Bentley in the waved yellows.
Yes, and in theory, with a waved yellow, you're not meant to improve your time in that sector. So it's the very, now whether the timing line might be before. So let's have a look and see, just right again. That's the consequence of being too aggressive on the exit. So everybody has backed out of it now, and we've got a red flag, so that's to remove that Bentley. So the session is all but over. In fact, it is over because of, 10 seconds remaining. That is it. And the provisional pole position, well, Bruce, run through it.
Well, absolutely extraordinary. Maro Engel takes that pole position from Albert Costa. With that brilliant lap, we were dealing in thousandths of a second, and suddenly he put a quarter of a second advantage. And right at the end, Albert Costa squeaked into that second place in his Emile Frey Lamborghini.
And do you know who's going to be the most frustrated driver out there? Pierre-Alexandre Jean, currently provisionally 7th, had gone purple sector 1, purple sector 2 on this last lap. And he said, well, I've been, well, not cheated, it's just a function that the sister car...
That is just exactly insult to injury. Your sister car from the CMR camp, spins, and then you lose what would have been the fastest lap of the lot. Those sector times were fantastic. So for the French driver on home ground, he'll have to start from 7th place. He'll be frustrated with that, but he knows, and we could see last night, the pace of the Bentleys, particularly in the straight line on the drag up to Adelaide hairpin, is sensational. But for now, it's the white Top Sport WRT Mercedes, number 6, trickling back down the hill to the end of the lap, has got it in the bag. Maro Engel.
I mean, we thought we had a cracking race in the hours of darkness here at Magny last night. I cannot wait to see this race get underway. 2 p.m.-ish. You've got Mercedes, Lamborghini, McLaren, Audi. Then the second of the Lamborghinis and the provisional third row. Raffaele Marcello, we thought he had it all done and dusted. Ends up on the 6th position, third row of the grid.
Well, let's take a look at those results. As we said, quarter of a second to the good was Maro Engel. Just got his lap in time, and then the red flag came out. And just before it came out, into second place went Albert Costa, sharing this weekend with Ricardo Fella in the Fry Racing Lamborghini. Ollie Wilkinson and Ben Barnicoat, their McLaren will start from third on the grid. A big change from last night. And right at the end there, Dries van Tor moved his Audi up into 4th place. That was yesterday's winning car. Another Lamborghini in 5th place. Alex Fontana, great job from the Swiss-Greek racer. Raffaele Marcello could have been on pole, has ended up down in 6th. It was changing that fast. And even more tip for pole was Pierre-Alexandre Jean. He was denied by the red flag when all was looking good for him to take the top. Jules Gougnot, another fantastic job for him. No longer a Bentley driver, of course, racing a Mercedes this year. Jack Aitken in the top 10. So 3 Lamborghinis for Emilfar Racing in the top 10. And Fred Lafiche hasn't been a good weekend for Santalot Racing, but there he is in 10th with the sister car, Christopher Haase, on board, down in 11th place. Johnny Adam, top Pro-Am runner in 12th. Yusuf Haka in the Silver Cup class, running 13th. And Jim Pla, right at the end, moves up the Pro-Am order. So 27 cars running. And at the end, Sky Tempesta Racing Ferrari had flashes of speed from that. It's down at the bottom of the chart from Giorgio Roda, and I think he was one of the drivers denied right at the end.
Yeah, a couple of cars looking out of position. Kelvin van der Linde and his Audi to be all the way down in 18th position. Big surprise to me. So I don't know what the reasons were for that particular WRT Audi to be that far away from what is the quickest of those cars. Dries van Tor, well, he's now confirmed as 4th position, 2nd row of the grid. But what a race there's going to be. I mean, it's going to be nuts going on this first lap. You've got so many of the top drivers in GT3 world.
Well, that was fantastic work from Maro Engel, and Gemma Scott's caught up with him down in the pits. Let's hear from the pole sitter.
Maro, we can't see the smile, but we can in the eyes. That was right at the last minute, and that red flag really played into you holding that time there.
Yeah, definitely great job by the whole team. It's exactly what we needed after yesterday. Yesterday was definitely a disappointment. But yeah, starting from pole today is great, and we'll give it everything in the race.
What did happen last night?
A bit of a technical issue concerning the rear left wheel, so that was a shame. But anyway, it's a good way to bounce back. Great job from the team, and now we look forward to the race.
Absolutely. Well done. Thank you.
Normally I get a bit upset if an engine fires up during the course of an interview, but that Mercedes rumble, I'll take that any time.
Yeah, and you can see Maro Engel, we're not too keen to explain the problems as we want to go back to the highlights here, Bruce.
Well, they had 20 minutes to go out and play, but what we saw very early on, a lot of them were tripping up over other drivers. They had to make space on the track. We saw them hanging back just through that final sequence of corners, then nailing it. Early pace was set by number 6 Mercedes and Maro Engel, and then running off the circuit, number 26, one of the Santalot Racing Audis. It doesn't look like their weekend, and that's Fred Verbies. Then the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini going for a little pirouette in the hands of Enrique Chavez. It was the turn of Riachiro Tomita. This seems to be the cursed car for WRT. It had its moments last night, and the 107 Bentley kept on coming. Pierre-Alexandre Jean performing brilliantly. Alex Fontana also showing great form in the number 14 Emilfar Racing Lamborghini. The 188 Aston Martin, Johnny Adam put that to the top in the Pro-Am class. Then suddenly Raffaele Marcello started to challenge in the 88 car to go top of the grid, but the order kept on changing, and when it was sweet at the end, Top Sport WRT came through, and Maro Engel made amends. Car facing backwards, that brought out the red flag. Pole was his.